Brian, your team complains about meetings being a waste of time, right?
Every single week.
Oh my goodness. So according to Lencioni, Patrick Lencioni, you don't have too many meetings. You have boring meetings that try to do so many things at the same time.
Okay. So the Lencioni answer is not to have less meetings, it's to make your meetings more dramatic.
More spicy. Yeah, absolutely. Your meetings fail not because there's no conflict, because there's no structure and not a clear purpose behind them. So to fix those three things, if you do that, people will actually want to show up. That's the thesis.
I don't know if this thesis holds up to scrutiny. Wait, let's argue about it and find out.
Let's do that.
I'm glad I brought a tea to this discussion. Welcome back to Arguing Agile. If this is your first time, welcome. I'm product manager Brian Orlando. This is my co-host, the indomitable Agile coach extraordinaire, Mr. Om Patel.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe because every puppy in the planet thanks you when you do that.
That's a true story. So as long as we're starting with things that are true, today we're talking about why your meetings suck using Patrick Lencioni's Death by Meeting, the book from, what did we say? When did we say this book was from?
2008. Four? It was four.
I think it was 2004.
It was 2004, from the original one.
From 1,000 tech ice ages ago, from 1,000 .com bubble bursts ago. What you're going to learn today, other than random Lord of the Rings quotes, you're going to learn the 3 reasons why meetings fail. They're not what you might think.
Mm-hmm. We're going to learn the meeting framework that he recommends.
Yes, the 4 meeting framework that Lencioni recommends in his roundabout kind of way. And then by the end of the episode, you'll have a better idea of what meetings to kill and which ones to go forward with. And how to run better meetings.
Awesome. This is a great topic. Right. So let's get into this.
My controversial take is that your meetings, they're just boring because everyone's sitting around trying to be polite and not actually talk about anything of substance. And Lencioni says great meetings, well, they need drama or drama. Sorry, no. Lencioni says all great meetings need drama, tension, and real conflict. So in the fake story that he writes in the book, the Death by Meeting book, it's like one chapter of actual pragmatic advice and like a bazillion other chapters of like a fake story written around the advice.
It's so it's situational.
That's the way these nonfiction business. And he says, hey, if that makes you uncomfortable, the fact that like we're bringing drama and we're bringing tension and we're bringing real stakes to the meeting, you need to like do some introspection because that's the problem. Is you need to be okay with that in the meeting. This needs to be the purpose of the meeting. So given that, your meetings need more conflict is this category.
More cowbell. More
That's
conflict.
Right.
We've all been in meetings where people just come there to kind of just get along.
Sure.
They don't want to have tension.
Sure.
So they'll just say, whatever happens, happens, right? Unless you're the person who has some stake in the game, right?
Yes.
And if you go in there with that kind of an attitude, you may as well not have the meeting.
Sure. So the Steelman for this, just right away, listen, conflict creates tension, and that slows decision making. Okay, and also that psychological safety that's just avoiding confrontation. That's what the Steelman side of this is going to say. Like I feel the Steelman side of this is like a big swing in one direction and a big swing in the other direction. One is saying don't like tiptoe around and don't cause conflict because you need psychological safety, so you're going to avoid confrontation. The other point is saying you need to remove conflict because it's just going to create tension, and the tension of tiptoeing around your coworkers will create this like slowness, a little slow decision making. I
think it's a swing and a miss in the same swing.
I mean,
psychological safety, if I can tackle it in kind of the reverse order. When you posit psychological safety means avoiding confrontation, that's not quite right. Psychological safety is really about creating the conditions where there's no threat to anyone speaking up.
Sure.
So they feel free to speak up. But what they speak up isn't just simply saying, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, and just go along with things. They should. True psychological safety means they feel okay to contradict.
Right.
Right? And create, that kind of a discussion point around the other point of view, so to speak. So I think that's the miss, in the swing and a miss. But conflict creates tension. Yeah, absolutely, it's true. Does it slow decisions? I think temporarily it does. It's in the meeting. You have people arguing multiple sides of it. So during the meeting, maybe you don't quickly arrive at a conclusion, also known as just simply somebody coming in and anchoring the decision, right? You don't have that. But I think that's for the better, because the decision that is arrived at is by fielding all different aspects of the argument, right? So conflict does create tension, but as long as it's healthy tension, and it's tension where everyone who has a stake in it can feel free to contribute toward it, and then the decision comes out, I think that's a fair thing. I think that's good.
Yeah. And, these 2 points, conflict creates tension, and then tension slows us down, and then psychological safety means avoiding confrontation. I mean, I could easily see them being real world points. So I want to stop short of saying they're not great points, but they're not great for the purpose of no great team has ever used either of these excuses that I've ever seen.
I agree.
To take us back to the book.
Yeah.
The spirit in the book is movies and trials and trial movies. So what's the Jack Nicholson? A few good men. Is that the Few Good Men? I don't remember. The Few Good Men starts with a murder investigation or something like that. Anyway, the stakes are clear in all those things, and in your meeting, your meeting's boring because it's not clear. What is the point of this meeting? If this meeting doesn't happen, what this is like the first Indiana Jones movie, the Raiders of the Lost Ark. If Harrison Ford, if Indiana Jones was not in Raiders of the Lost Ark, all the events of Raiders of the Lost Ark would have still happened.
True.
It's like that kind of thing where you have to step back and realize, if nobody has the meeting, what would the outcome be? Something that anyone cares about?
Well, that's an interesting point, because I've actually seen in my career people schedule meetings for the express purpose of, quote unquote, getting their way. So they do not, this isn't really about psychological safety. I know it can be misconstrued that way. They do not open the space for anyone else to argue. Mm-hmm. And it's not through threat. It's simply by presenting their ideas as pseudo-facts, right? Sure. It'll be like saying, look, it isn't dark out now. It's just that the sun's gone away, right? Right? And, it's that kind of a tone, right? And people don't want to argue because, the sun's gone away, but also means it's not light out, right? Tomorrow, the sun will be back. But between now and then, they're going to find a way to get their point across and win the consensus argument, right? I've seen that. And these people are experts at their game, which is where, to come back to your point, a skilled facilitator is worth their weight in gold. Yeah. The teams don't necessarily know how to do that. Not their fault, right? They know what they need to do, but this isn't one of them. So yeah, absolutely. So psychological safety is one of those umbrellas that gets put up, but it's a paper umbrella at best. Sometimes it's real, but it's very rare that that's real, where team members can't say, but, right?
Well, there's the takeaway in this category. I feel the takeaways here are actually, they're pretty good. There's 3 of them. Name the conflict out loud, assign someone to argue each side, and then set a decision deadline. If you know that you're driving into conflict, that's what I'm saying. You're going to a meeting, you're driving into conflict, or if you're in a meeting and you believe that you've stumbled on a conflict, then name the conflict. Hey, it looks like representing engineering, you want 6 more weeks to work on this feature because you feel it's not quality, or you feel our server is going to fall over in the middle of the night and cause the outages, or burn you for X amount of hours, engineering hours, that kind of stuff. And sales is saying that this thing needs to be out in 2 weeks. So we can't have both. This is the conflict we've discovered. Now let's assign someone to each side. Now let's talk about it. And you don't have to necessarily make a decision right there and then. Obviously,
it's better if there's a decision by the end of the meeting.
It'd be better. But maybe facts need to be gathered and whatnot. And then if you're not going to resolve it there, then have something concrete following that meeting for you to follow up on this to make the real decision if you need more evidence. But those three things to start with: name the conflict, assign a back and forth, a person per side to best represent it, and then set a deadline. If you can't make a decision immediately, set a deadline.
Yeah, I think on the first topic of naming the conflict, depersonalize that. It's not about the people, it's about the problem.
Should always be about the work.
Yeah, exactly. So, instead of saying, well, you represent development and you need this, right? So say, well, it will take this much to develop. It will, sales need it by this time. This is the deadline by which we need to sell it, right? Whatever it might be. So depersonalize it. I think you might have a better outcome if you can do that. And then the last point that you made, having a decision by the end of the meeting's ideal. It's not always possible. Set a deadline and then put down the two things that would happen. One is, what if we didn't make a decision by that deadline? What's the outcome? And what if we did? What's the outcome? Right? And then people can make an informed decision, because sometimes there's a little element of gambling involved in making the decision. And I think those kinds of clear stakes will help people, go on one side or the other.
All right. So we need a conflict, but even with drama, your meetings still fail if you're mixing 5 different conversations into 1 hour. So let's talk about that next. But first, before we leave this category, let us know what you think about drama.
Please. Yeah.
So you know why your weekly team meeting feels like a waste of time? It's probably because you're trying to do status updates, strategic planning, like tactical problem solving, investigation type of stuff, all in one session. So in the book, in the Death by Meeting book, Lencioni calls this lack of contextual structure. One of these days, I'll be able to say contextual in one breath.
You said it. Yeah. So I think, again, we've all been in meetings where there are multiple stakeholders for multiple purposes. And people want something out of it that is something that, is dear to their heart. So, yeah, the too many things going on in that meeting. The meeting isn't sharp and focused on a single outcome or singular outcome. And that's part of the problem is, do we provide status? Yes. Do we get decisions? Yeah. I mean, if you're saying yes to multiple things, you're probably not going to get there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, this is great. I think we can go straight into the steel man of this one. So in the steel man, I got 2 points. Number one comprehensive meeting. Well, that reduces calendar bloat. I can just come to one meeting where we get everything done. You ask me all the questions you need, and then I'm out. Reduces calendar bloat, number one. Number two, covering everything together, that saves time. It's 2 points, but they're really the same point.
Yeah, the same point.
Which is, I don't have time for this.
This is the efficiency angle, right? Let's just meet for a few minutes and tackle everything.
This is everyone that's ever pushed back against the meetings of Scrum. Like you can throw a rock on the internet and hit these people that completely don't understand, and it might not be their fault they don't understand the meetings of Scrum. That they could have people at their company that are just monopolizing the time. They got executives in the daily stand up. Who knows what their problem is?
Yeah, so I get the argument. Okay, let's try to be super efficient and combine multiple items in one meeting. Sure. You have people that have only one thing on their calendar. They can attend. We can get this done. Aren't we great? Here's the problem with that. Different conversations require different mindsets. So not just different people, but different mindset. For example, in the meeting, you're talking about something strategic versus something tactical.
Yeah. Not only that, but if we're talking about tactical level objectives that aren't working, because a strategic bet is just not a good strategic bet. If I'm the product manager coming into the room, and I need to be in strategic, like, why do we even care about this problem? Why don't we just cut this whole side of the business or whatever? Or how much money do we make off of this?
Right.
Why don't we just cut this? We're like, I've been in bug discussions before of like, why is anyone, like, one person's using this feature? Like, why don't we I'll just call them on the phone and say, look, like, it's never going to be good. Like, let me transition you to something better. Or let me do something else. I don't know. Work something else out. Handling tactical issues because your business at the strategic level is not operating. That's not a good way to go around business. And I would say if you're in this specific, like real, like narrow niche that I'm like carving out right now, like you better keep that resume updated because like your business is not going to be around that long.
Yeah. Very true.
But this, you can't shift from, I can't even like shifting from strategic to tactical, like strategic to tactical to like the day-to-day grind to like the firefighting type of stuff.
Yeah.
You can only really be in one of those things at a time, you know?
And a lot of teams try and do that multiple times in the same meeting too.
And you know the other thing that I've been in where it's supposed to be a strategic meeting, and then you start bringing up evidence for why the strategy is not working, and then the defense against that is jumping into tactics. And now, because you don't have every detailed answer to every question about tactics, now it looks like you're getting thrown under the bus. Brian, you don't know what's the total amount of time that people spend in the application, how many people hit that error on a regular basis, and how many people, what's the average, customer acquisition cost for a customer that uses this type of feature. Is that like a lot of like super low detailed questions when you're supposed to be in a strategic in my mind, like where are we going to be in 3 years type of conversation. Yep. And now people are hammering you for like operational level details, which I completely could get.
But you're not probably prepared for it in that meeting.
Right, yeah, right.
So what happens is these kinds of meetings, they don't save time. Okay. The idea was we'll just have one meeting on the calendar to tackle all these n number of different things. Sorry, they don't save time. Right. They actually waste everybody's time equally.
Yeah, so you're on the screen right now with these bullet points and the where I was kind of, my diatribe kind of pointed at the second one where in this mixed type of meeting, all of the urgent work is going to drown out that like longer term tactical work or figuring out how we can improve or anything like that. That's kind of where I was sort of going. But yeah, one bloated meeting, like it wastes everyone's time equally at this point.
Agree. Yeah. So when people can't prepare appropriately, we was talking about that. You're not really prepared for what's coming at you.
That was, by the way, and that was my issue that I was showing on the internet. There was like people would start hammering me for a bunch of tactical questions when we're trying to be at the strategic level, and I'm saying customers don't care about feature X. The majority of people care about feature Y, and then. Number one, they try to defend themselves because maybe they came up with the idea in the first place, and now they want to go into a bunch of technical details and stuff like that. And then maybe we'll get back to that 4-letter word of, well, you just implemented it wrong. That kind of stuff, like the finger pointing, the blame.
Sure.
Like if these conversations sound familiar to you, it's because you're in a culture you cannot stick to one thing, and there's a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot of bad habits happening all at once.
That's right. A lot of CIA is probably going on too at that point. So consequently, I think when it's a generalized sort of a, let's just all meet because, it's a good thing, right? We're efficient. People can't prepare for that adequately. So they show up unprepared for pretty much everything. And then what ensues is, let's take that offline.
If you're trying to do strategic planning and you're trying to do status updates in the same meeting, then you're going to fail at both. There's no way those two things and the ways of thinking, they don't go together at that level.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great one that we just stay on, like the wrong audience for the wrong conversation. This could be a different podcast. I want to move us on to give people some takeaways here, something that could actually be helpful for anyone experiencing the pain of this situation. Especially me, so your Frankenstein meeting, trying to separate it into separate meetings. You're trying to cut it into separate meetings. You want to audit your recurring meetings. You want to label each one. Okay, that's what we're doing here. Is it a tactical session talking about this week's problems? Is it a strategic level, meaning big decision? Next year, 2-3 years of the company, long term. Or is it a status meeting? I don't go to status meetings, so or at least I try not to.
I try to avoid them by just simply providing a dashboard that shows you the status. Yeah. But it could be operational. Let's just give them, alternative, right? So that's the third one. Status/operational meeting. You're talking about ops stuff, right? You're not talking about big long-term strategy there. So don't mix it all up. Yep. Throw it all in a blender. Turn it on high.
And then if you have one meeting and that has multiple, if you go through point one and you end up with multiple labels on a meeting, that meeting needs to be split.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people just kind of balk at that and say, oh, but we won't get everybody's time, right?
Yeah, right.
If the decision makers are in that meeting, that's all you need, right? The other people can be reading that. It can be an email for them. So feel free for that. I mean, the other thing is if there's just a meeting for the sake of a meeting and it hasn't got one of the three labels we just outlined, kill it. Don't have the meeting.
Yeah. Super easy with if you're on the G Suite with Google, whatever, Microsoft, super easy to put labels on these things.
Absolutely.
Super easy.
Well, also don't attend or don't schedule any meeting that has no agenda.
Right.
You know, I like to put in like pre-reads, agenda, and then expected outcomes so that the right people can decide if they want to attend or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at that. That's a minimum viable slide on the podcast right there.
Yeah.
So we need separate meeting types, different types of meetings, and people need to understand that there are different types of meetings and they need to fit into these categories. So, but how many categories? Lencioni gives you 4 in the book. And that's what we're going to talk about next, because each one of the 4 has a specific job. Sorry, did I say Pacific or did I say specific?
Atlantic.
Specific. Whatever. So before we move on to the 4 types of meetings, what do you think about this category? What do you think about using your meeting that you have on the calendar to do too many things and splitting them into more specific meetings with the drama front loaded, what we're trying to get to, what the key conflict is that we're trying to resolve? Let us know in the comments. Oh, and like and subscribe. The 4 meeting types that replace the chaos. It needs to be just replace chaos.
But also the 4 meetings is a prescription by Lencioni, is saying replace the chaos with 4 meetings. Not 5, not 3, these 4 is what he says.
So in the book, in the Death by Meeting Patrick Lencioni book, each of the 4 types of meetings has its own specific job, like what the meeting's for, and time frame and specific outcome. So to get this right, you cut your meeting time in half and you get twice as much done. That's right. You're having twice the outcomes from half the meetings. If only I could write a book and come up with a framework. If
someone beat you to it.
It's only. All right. So Lencioni's framework is here on, I put it on the screen here for everyone listening. It's the daily check-in, which is a 5 to 10 minute daily activity. The weekly tactical, 45 to 90 minute. The monthly strategic, 2 to 4 hour. And the quarterly offsite, 1 to 2 days. So those are the 4 meetings that he outlines. And before we dig into each and every one of his prescribed meetings, because that's what it is, prescription. You know, we always push back against prescriptions on the podcast. But before we do that, I'm gonna hit you with the Steel Man. You ready?
Steel Man.
All right. So 4 recurring meetings, though, that's too rigid. Why has it got to be exactly 4? We're special. What if we want to add 2 more of our own special meetings on top of this? Number 1 and number 2. I thought you said every team is special and unique.
So yeah, so those 2 are kind of juxtaposed. On the first one, yeah, we're special. Okay, fine. We're saying 4. If you can't do it in 4, go with 6. But also with a view to reducing 2. So you can come back to the 4, because you're going to find yourself not being that effective in 2 out of those 6 meetings.
Yeah. Well, you're creating new types at this point.
You're creating new types, and you're trying to justify those types probably as well, right? So I would say if you really pay attention and you really try to compartmentalize your meetings to be effective rather than just, simply efficient, right? Yeah. I think you'll find you can probably make do with 4. So give it a try.
Yeah. Okay. Well, those are the 2. It's too rigid. We need special types of meetings. Every team's context is different. Okay. Cool story, bro. Let's go over the actual meetings one by one. We'll talk about the purpose of each one, and then we'll have the rest of the section. We're going to change the format for this section a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
So his first meeting is the daily check-in, 5 to 10 minutes. It's a quick stand-up. You talk about priorities. You talk about blockers. You talk about, and no problem solving occurs. This sounds familiar.
Yeah, aka the daily sync or the daily stand-up. Of course, we don't call it that anymore because no one stands. This is not just software, by the way. I witnessed, I think we may have mentioned it on another podcast. I witnessed a construction crew create little huddles. First thing in the morning, they come together, still holding their lunch boxes and thermos flasks.
Right.
And they have a 5-minute huddle for the plan of the day. And then they go about their business.
Yeah.
So this is not just software. This is just to see what's going to happen on the day, right? Who needs help, who doesn't, that sort of thing.
Right.
Any last minute stuff that could get in your way and unravel your plans for the day.
Right.
This is not your strategic kind of meeting. This is not your operations type of meeting either. This is just to plan for the day for one another.
It's also not a bug deep dive.
No,
It's
or a
also
status update.
It's not a status update. I don't care what you did yesterday. Like,
That's right.
I only care. It's a work focused meeting.
Right. That's exactly right. So in the case of the construction crew, I went down to the site and had a chat with them.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we know what we're going to do today, more or less. It's just that depending on the weather, we might not be able to put down electrical because, rain, right? So if the rain does come, what do we do? So we plan that out ahead of time.
Yeah.
I'm like, that makes sense to me, right? You can't plan for no rain.
Yeah.
So that made a lot of sense. And coming back to like most people that are working in software, that's what it should be about. It should not be about what you do yesterday. I'm not in your team because my answer is going to be the same for the 3 questions. Yeah. What did I do yesterday? Work. What am I going to do today? Work. Do I have any blockers? Nope. See you tomorrow. And I'll drop.
Yeah.
So just bear that in mind, right? This first meeting is just to make sure you can pivot quickly should the need dictate that.
Okay, let's move on to the second one, the weekly tactical, 45 to 90 minutes. It's this week's problems only, build the agenda live, ban strategic debates. That's the weekly tactical. I would argue, let me think about this for a second. Because I'm looking at these items under the banner of Scrum as a framework. And I'm thinking about the Scrum meetings, and the retro works with this very well. It's weekly tactical, 45 to 90 minutes, just this week's problems only. You build the agenda live there in the meeting. You don't talk strategic stuff. The retro is this meeting. It's what while we were doing work in the last week, what problem did we have? And what are we going to do about it?
Yeah, and you mentioned the retro. I know it says weekly here. A lot of teams do 2 weeks. It doesn't really matter, right? I mean, there's no need to wait for 2 weeks to hold a retro if the need arises. Just go ahead and stand up a meeting.
Sure.
But yeah, the retro is a classic meeting that fits this mold in that there's no preformed agenda. You're not talking long-term technical stuff. Yep. You're certainly not talking any kind of status updates here.
Nope.
It's just how can we do things better,
right.
And what's been,
You're specifically talking about the problems you encountered. That's
right. And making a commitment to solving some of those things in ways of working, right? So this one is good for that. I would say at a stretch a little bit, but your sprint review could fall into this. It's a tactical meeting in the sense that here's what we've worked on. Let me get some feedback on this as a team, right? So let us all get in front of the stakeholders, get some feedback. Again, this is not long term. The feedback is usually binary. You tacitly, either accept the work or you don't. Yeah. And if you don't, that's fine. Yeah. But let's put in backlog items to pivot from that, right? Sure. So again, not long term. There's no status updates. Teams that are doing status updates with your stakeholders, please don't. You're doing this wrong.
Sure. Oh, this also could be, depending on the type of team that you're on. You're on a Kanban, keep the lights on, support only. Let me focus that lens a little bit, because if you're a team that only looks at what are the problems that came in, what are the priorities, what's the SLA or whatever. Yep. Now, this looks like a complete agenda for that kind of meeting. And also, if you're running a business and you're just dealing with the fires of the day, now take tech, like wheel the lens back to say, well, we're not just like writing software or whatever, dealing with support tickets or whatever. We're just running a broader business. You're going to have this week's problems, this week's screaming customers or issues or deliverables or whatever that's in front of you. You're not thinking strategically. You're just trying to go from fire A to fire B. And that's this meeting, the weekly tactical.
Yeah, the operations meeting. I mean, if you're not in software, you're in some kind of logistics. This is the operations meeting to figure out, what can go wrong, what has gone wrong, and alleviate that right now. That's what this is all about.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on to the monthly strategic. It's a 2 to 4 hour meeting with one big topic. The roadmap, resources, major decisions. It encourages real debate. And obviously, the sprint planning. Obviously, I don't know if the backlog refinement fits into the last one or this one. I definitely think the sprint planning is this one because it's going to define the work that you do for the next couple weeks. It's going to take at least 2 hours. I think sprint planning is firmly this. I'm not sure about refinement, but definitely sprint planning is definitely this.
I think product roadmap discussions fall into this as well, right?
Right.
Because they are something that could take some time, and you're doing trade-off decisions based on the need of the hour versus skill sets and the resources available to do the work. So that also falls under this.
The other thing that is funny about this one is I've seen monthly product check-ins where there'll be a rep from each product team. Like the product manager will be there for the team, and then there'll be a rep. Usually it's like the most senior developer, or if they have like a solution architect or a technical lead or something like that on the team, they'll be there too. And if you know that you're going to bring something up that another developer worked on or something like that, sometimes they'll make a guest appearance or whatever. But it's usually like a rep or two from each team all around the business, scaled. And then leadership shows up and you kind of talk strategically about, and it's like a roadmap adjustment meeting, right? Especially when there's a bunch of teams working on one backlog, right? Working together on one backlog. I've seen this type of thing where it was like basically once a month, at the most once a month, where we talk about the strategic direction of the roadmap. The product managers mainly are the main people that are go-tos here. But it's a leadership discussion where you're making major decisions about resources for the next period of time.
Yeah, I've seen this in other settings. Like, for example, the portfolio council will meet, and you'd have all the product managers there. You'd have finance people there, and so on. The enterprise architecture would be represented there as well. Yep. So that's one. And outside of just the simple sort of like the software world, if you will, this is also where you could have the quarterly or the monthly, rather, the sales meetings, right? Where people are talking about sales quota and fulfillment and so on and so forth, trying to figure out the path ahead and how to pivot to meet those goals. So this is what that is. One big topic, roadmap type of major decisions. This encourages often debate that ensues, and decisions are made at the end of it. So this is not probably where you're going to have your teams take place, right? Like maybe you'll have your team lead or architect. You said that architect could be there, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So these are cadenced every month. You have them. You know what needs to be discussed there, and the agenda hopefully is sourced from those attendees as well. And the decisions could be made based on the agenda items. So they're focused. You may touch on some very high levels and sensitive ops issues, but typically this is not an ops meeting.
Yeah. The last one that Patrick Lencioni points out in the book is the quarterly offsite, 1 to 2 days. It's mainly executives, I think, in the book. It doesn't need to be just executives, but it's more a strategic leadership level thing. It gives you the time to step back from the tactical, from the in the weeds type of view, review what worked, what didn't work, your team health, any market changes, a real step back, let's look at the broader business type of ability. If you go back to Arguing Agile 217, Extreme Ownership, Military Leadership Lessons for Professionals, we did that one. I believe we did that one with Ed.
We did.
If you go back to that one, we talked about you need dedicated time to step back and away from the problem to see it with an outside view, because being in the weeds all the time, you just get consumed with the tactical. You get consumed in the weeds. Even if you're a strategic leader that you don't like write code and do stuff every day, you still get consumed with the day to day, and you need time away from the office, away from your laptop. You know what I mean, away from being connected 24/7 to focus on the broader picture. And that is this quarterly offsite. That's the whole purpose of this quarterly offsite. And hopefully you have good facilitators. I think in the book, he does go out and say you should consider getting an outside facilitator that has nobody's stake, is not invested in any outcome.
That's a really good suggestion. I think given the time when this book was written, he probably didn't necessarily have this in mind, but I think this quarterly offsite meeting is the same model that we talk about for things like big room planning or PI planning.
Sure.
Although I'll say that some of the teams are also involved deep down into the weeds, and there's some anti-patterns there where people say the exit criteria for PI planning could be you plan out all your sprints for 3 months. So that's not exactly emergent. That's kind of waterfall.
Yeah.
But going past that, the idea is to, like you said, holistically figure out what we can do by stepping away outside of the noise and the chaos of the day-to-day.
Right.
That's this meeting. This is not something that requires on-the-day sort of spot decisions to be made, right? These are long-term things. So bear that in mind. Likely you would craft your agenda that way and then make sure your participants are aligned to this outcome in mind.
If you listen to this whole section and you still think that 4 meeting types is too many, you can just knock it out in one. You're probably running one meeting that tries to do the job of 4, and you're
not doing the job of any.
Right? Yeah, I want to be your friend and say, listen, come, step into my office. Like, you're failing
on the shoulder.
You're failing at all 4. Okay.
Exactly. But do let us know in the comments below how you're faring with that.
Oh, man, yeah. That was a very passive aggressive way of let me know how you're doing. No. Listen, I couldn't have done it any better. That was
good.
So let's transition to the part that trips people up. They hear 4 meeting types and they think that means more meetings. So let's deal with that head on by talking about why too many meetings is a symptom, not the disease. Here's a take that should make you mad, Om. That's not possible, but
it is possible.
Here's a take that should make you mad. You don't have too many meetings. You have too many bad meetings. That wasn't the word I wanted to use, but that's the kid-friendly word that I'm using today. And when you kill those meetings without fixing the system, you're just going to create more problems. That's right. I'm on the steel man side of this one, Om. So get ready. So Patrick Lencioni in the Death by Meeting book, he argues meeting overload is a symptom of running the wrong meetings badly, which spawns more meetings to fix the issues created by those poor meetings. So don't do any of that. Fix it by running better meetings and running the correct meetings. So a two-part advice. A pincer move, a daylight charge across the minefield, That's what I'm.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's not what I'm saying.
The Romans perfected that. Pincer movement. So I agree with what Lencioni is saying here, because if you're running meetings badly and running the wrong type of meetings, you're not fixing stuff, but you're going to probably just come back to meet to fix those stuff and run those badly, and on it goes.
Right. So if I'm jumping straight into the Steel Man, is this another one where I don't have the points? Oh, no, I do have the points. So I'm jumping straight into the Steel Man, Om. I'm going to give you 2 points right quick, sure. And then we're going to argue about them. Number one, calendars are objectively overloaded with meetings. And then if that's true, that means more meeting free time means more productivity.
Oh, boy. All right, let's get into this. Calendars are objectively overloaded with meetings. It seems like, to me, it's become a badge of honor lately to say, I'm slammed. I have nothing available for the next 2 weeks. We wear that, as like, I'm so busy, right? You're busy, but are you being effective? More meeting free time equals more productivity is the second side of it, which I don't agree with, because meeting free time, having free time on your calendar doesn't necessarily equate directly to more productivity.
Yeah.
And that's because the precursor to having more productivity is that you had the right meetings that we talked about earlier, the 4 meeting types, etc., and had the right decisions made. And now you get the time you need to implement those decisions because you have Slack on your calendar to do that.
Yeah.
So bad meetings, they will just mean you'll have to have more meetings. People will just say, well, let's just have a quick touch point, right? And so now we have another meeting. That's not one of the 4 types either, by the way, because you're probably not going to have the right audience there.
Wait, you know the best part about this takeaway is that the companies that have no meeting policies. I was at a company one time where at certain times they had no meeting, certain holidays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you can't schedule meetings between, like for example, between the end of Christmas and the beginning of New Year, like that week, no scheduled meetings on the calendar. And I was like, well, that basically means I'm going to take the week off and not work that week. And that basically the whole product team ended up taking off the entire week because on product, your job is to align people. Your job is to like move forward with what we talked about, the different types of meetings here, the strategic and the tactical and whatnot. And if you can't align strategic, tactical, whatever, I mean, unless you're one of these new product people that are like, just build everything yourself, kid, and we don't need any engineering. At that point, listen, I think what the company's trying to tell you is just relax. Take
the time.
Put your feet up.
Yeah,
take some
time
off. I think about companies that would try to aggressively pursue that and take it to the next level to be like, oh, you've got to do these special things before you can start a meeting. Like that would just move that meeting time. It would just move it to Slack or another apparatus.
Exactly.
It would move it to an ACE or like a offline Google Doc. Oh yeah, put your input into the Google Doc by XYZ date or whatever. Otherwise, you get in trouble or what. Like it would just move that apparatus. It's super easy to do when we're all together for 30 minutes.
The sad part of that is that because that whole diversion is async, you don't have the benefit of having that face-to-face, right? And having that in-the-moment type of discussion.
Yeah.
That's the sad part. But you're right. That's what happens. They get substituted out for those other methods.
Let me take this moment to get off my chest what I was thinking about when we were talking about the plan for this whole podcast. Is the people that say, when they say, I've got too many meetings or Scrum has too many meetings, what I really hear in my brain is, you've got too many useless meetings with no clear purpose. Because I know you're not talking about the Scrum meetings. And if you are talking about the Scrum meetings, then let me pull the covers back to find out, are you actually doing Scrum? Or are your Scrum meetings just like status meetings where all your managers and your managers and your VPs or whatever are just like coming in to your daily stand-ups? And you know what I mean? Like, are you so far off, cast out at sea, that you're never going to see dry land again? Like you're the water world of running Scrum at this point. Is that you? Do you have a problem? Where's Mike Miller at? Do you have a drinking problem? Like the thing that Patrick Lencioni book goes out of its way to say is the right meetings run well, facilitated well, and run on a regular basis, inside of the time boxes that we talked about in the previous section. That reduces your total communication overhead and enhances communication in your organization. And since you're drawing conflict out in the meetings, right? Because that was like point number 1 of this podcast. Don't be scared of the conflict. Get it out there. Right. Name, assign people, and then we'll make decisions based on the best evidence that we have. If you're doing that, I mean, you shouldn't have this, oh my goodness, I don't know what the purpose of the sprint planning is.
I think as far as like the sprint events are concerned, if they're not effective, you definitely take the lid off and see if you're doing it right. Also consider getting a skilled facilitator to get you on the right track so the team can then take over after that. Right. I will add, I don't know if this is the right time, but I will add one other meeting type, I guess, which Lencioni didn't mention in his book, probably because of the time frame when the book was penned, and that is the town hall meeting. The town hall meeting is a meeting where you have hundreds of people. Pretty much everybody in the company is involved, and there's only one purpose behind that meeting, and that is to let you know from leadership to the masses, to let you know what's coming your way, or what's happening with the company, right? We're about to acquire XYZ or be acquired, whatever it might be. Go public, whatever it could be, anything. But that's what the purpose is. And in these kinds of meetings, they typically, unfortunately, I've seen this way too often, they're typically simply one-way conversations.
Yeah.
People speak, and at the end of it, you're basically given half a chance to say, does anybody have any questions? And nobody dare unmute.
I don't know. I would say I don't think that's a separate type of meeting. If we're gonna pull an audible on the Arguing Agile podcast,
it's not a scheduled meeting.
I would say it's a monthly. What you're describing sounds like a monthly strategic run badly.
It's not monthly. That's the problem. It's not scheduled. So it's whenever leaderships feel like scheduling, they stomp all over your meetings. Nobody cares when you have your meetings.
I understand. So
it's ad hoc.
If I'm the doctor writing prescriptions over here, and then I'm going to charge you $500 per prescription, I would prescribe your ad hoc monthly. You just schedule a date monthly. You can tell the employees whatever you want monthly. You got 2 hours. You don't need to use all 2 hours. And then everything we're talking about in these categories, they all build on the previous category. If you're doing a monthly strategic, there needs to be a conflict. There needs to be drama that is built into the meeting. So if you're going to have a meeting and throw it out there and not say anything and not elicit any feedback or not have any real feedback, right? Because that's like the person who's already quit is going to raise their hand and ask a real question just to throw a dump truck full of salt into the wound. Like, that's not this. If employees cannot ask real questions and elicit real feedback, listen, don't even have this meeting. Just send an email.
But that's the problem, right? Most of the town hall meetings are like that, where employees aren't even encouraged to ask those questions because there's this aura of fear.
Well,
that you may not. Now,
it's waste.
The only yes, it is.
Waste.
The only exception is people that have already been let go, but they're typically not even invited to these calls, or the yes people that will just say, "Wow, it's fantastic! Thank you for sharing. I'm so proud to be working for this company."
Yes, listen, all these people are the problem. That's what you're pointing out. Listen, the complaining about too many meetings or complaining about bad meetings, to me, what I've learned from reading this book is it's like complaining about having too many conversations. You can complain about too many conversations, but also, like, the problem is not the format of the conversation.
Yep.
The problem is that you're having the wrong conversation. You can be unafraid to stop being polite. Sorry, I don't know why I'm doing the real world now. Like the '90s real world. Like stop being polite and start getting real. Is that what I'm saying right now?
Exactly
where you're saying like, hey, this conversation is not going anywhere. I'm done, and you just walk away. I mean, theoretically, I guess you could just turn and walk away in mid conversation. I mean, if you're trying to protect your time, I don't know.
You could.
So, but that's the point. I'm saying, like, don't say, hey, I want to have less conversations because the conversations you're in are all boring and rote.
Yeah,
I don't say that.
I like that word.
Yeah, rote.
Rote.
But I mean, before you cancel another meeting or walk away from another conversation, like, I have a quick takeaway for you here. Hopefully, it's quick. So, yeah, I have a couple questions here. Oh, look, what decision or alignment does this meeting create? Conversation create, right? If the answer is none, you don't need to show up. Like, you don't need to go.
This meeting could have been an email.
Oh, absolutely. And then number 2, what happens if we don't have the meeting? Does Indiana Jones blow the lid off the Ark of the Covenant and then, like, everyone dies at the end, like, except Indiana Jones, because he could have stayed home in bed and we'd have had that same outcome. Indiana
Jones and Shorty are the only ones to survive.
I'm just saying. No time for love, Dr. Jones.
That's right.
I'm just saying. I definitely want that in every one of our podcasts. And then the final one is this meeting that I'm about to go into, is it actually multiple meetings crammed into one? Because if it is, then the first thing we should do when we start the meeting is, hey, we should probably split these things into another meeting and then invite only the people that, are really interested or really have a stake or really have the evidence or really are experts or whatever, and we can really, like, reclaim our time, have a shorter meeting, make real decisions, get out of there, and everyone's happy. Again, every chapter in this book, the whole book is kind of like a fake little narrative that's set up to be a little easy reading it's the easy listening.
It tells a good story.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it tells a story.
Yeah.
But all these nonfiction kind of business suggestion kind of books are done that way.
Yeah.
It
Situational
was
things.
a warm day outside. And the glow of the sun was blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, get to the point of telling me I hadn't have too many meetings.
Yeah.
But like the eventual goal isn't necessarily fewer meetings. It's the right meetings with clear purposes. And that's basically, you have to read the whole book, like the whole story, and then the additional the single chapter at the end that gives you all the details. And you're like, why didn't you just tell me this at the beginning and give me the story? So that's basically the whole book. It's the narrative at the front of the book. For the first 3/4, a little bit more than 3/4, and then the last chapter or two, I think, is hey, here's the framework, here's the 4 meetings, here's their type, their purpose, and their type, and figure it out, kid. So they smack you on the backside and send you into play. That's what they do.
Yeah.
When it's over. But this is Patrick Lencioni's Death by Meeting. It's 3 fatal flaws that kill your meeting. That's for the YouTubers out there. 3 fatal flaws that kill your meeting. Well, not maybe narrator. The one of the protagonists in the book, like the person they hire to help them figure out better meetings, like he went to film school, and there's a lot of allegories around film and stuff like that about your stakes and drama and things that your meetings have to do. And a lot of people could read that book and kind of it would go over their head, or they're thinking it's like fluff or whatever. But it's not. I mean, as a product manager, a lot of times you have to represent things that haven't happened in your company yet as a drama to be solved, as real stakes.
I think
to
it's
be solved.
integral to everyday life in business, because especially as a product manager, you're outlining what happens if and what happens if we don't.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's all drama.
Right.
But yeah, if people have read Patrick Lencioni's other books, you'll notice the same type of the style of writing. I'm specifically talking about the 5 dysfunctions of a team.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's great book. This one is a good book too. So.
Well, this is 2004, so it's been out quite a while, and 4 meeting types, each with a specific purpose. We talked about in this section. You have a couple challenges, you have a couple takeaways that we suggest in this podcast, like audit your meetings, figure out what category they're in, whether you need them or don't need them, and then let us know in the comments if anything that we said on this podcast, if it's helpful for you. I'd be ecstatic to find out. And this book is a very quick read. Again, I read it in 2 days. It was super fast. Because like I said, the majority of the narrative is pretty easy to listen to, and also it's a short book compared to a lot of other business books. Yeah,
for sure. Let us know down in the comments below if you found other meetings that don't fit into the mold of the 4 categories that we described. We'd love to know.
Yeah.
And also, let us know any other topics you'd like us to delve into. And finally, on your way out, like and subscribe.